Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'd like to not stand on existing protocol, but to establish the protocol properly. In the junior chamber movement, what we stand for is proper leadership, ethics, and responsibility. George will be fined this afternoon as a past executive secretary of JCI Nigeria for that wonderful blunder. We cannot make progress with that. Please welcome with me past national president who failed to become world president, not because he wasn't capable, but because we had not mastered the politics of that time. JCI Senator Benson Idahosa. Sorry, Gabriel Idahosa. Please stand up and take a bow. The president I served as National Director of Training. We went to so many places, and I would never forget that lonely night at the hotel in Port Harcourt. Please welcome JCI Senator Jokotade Odebumi. And the president, because in JCI, there is no past president. Every president held the organization at a point in time. So you refer to them as president for their time. They are never past, because you continue to draw on their wealth of experience and inspiration. So the president who fortune smiled upon and providence, please welcome JCI Senator PC Aniso. I left the scene. I retired as a JCI member at the age of 36. And by the grace of God, I turned 50 a few months ago. So you would understand that it's no mean feat to still remember people by name, even when they came on 10 years after you left. So please welcome with me the one they call ExCEL, JCI Senator Chiung Oshikalu. Of course, I missed the sequence, and you'll pardon me, I will go back to the national president I gave the most hassles in life since I became a JC. She knows I did the right thing. Please welcome JCI Senator Chogu Ako. I came out of retirement to set some things straight, and I'm sure Chogu didn't greet me for about 2-3 months, but eventually she forgave me because she realized that posterity sometimes is what you stand for. And of course, the man of the moment, my Aburo Tooto, please welcome JCI Senator Richard Ojo. She wasn't there when I got up. She hasn't greeted me. So you would understand why I didn't even know she's there. Ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me and recognize the national president I served dutifully as General Legal Counsel and custodian of the Constitution. The one that my wife gave me permission to discuss with in low tone. Iya Abeji, for the records. JCI Senator Adekunbi. Sorry, JCI Senator Doctor, that came much later. Adekunbi Wuraola. I also think George did a disservice by lumping our JCI senators together. It's not easy to be a JCI senator. That's the truth. You can't buy it with money. Even if you buy it with money, our principles will not allow you give it to you when you have the money. I remembered sitting on Joko's board one year that a past governor in Nigeria sent money and said, I want JCI senatorship. And the board decided that no, sir, it is not for sale. Eventually, we gave it, but we gave it after that person apologized. I'm not trying to buy it. I want to go out there and project the JCI ideals. And I was one of those to raise my hand and say, I support. And we finally gave that person senatorship after we established the fact that it was not for sale. So distinguished JCI senators from Oladele, Ogunlana, my very good friend, Presi, JCI Senator Victor Ekasa, JCI Senator Doyi, Sisi Doyi Ishola, forgive me, JCI Senator Neka Itabo. We met at a conference in, I think it was, remind me, my dear. Okay, yes, that was Las Vegas, where what happens in Las Vegas should stay in Las Vegas. And Neka was next room to me. And those were the years when I was still active and not a priest. And my wife, I came back into the room. I said, Sunday, are you coming from this side or this side? I said, it is from this side. Ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to recognize and appreciate the speaker before me, Mr. Soni Rabo. I think it's done very good justice to the topic assigned to him, and he's displayed eloquence and very good, let me use the term abinibi, something that is innate, sir. When I grow up, sir, I want to be like you, sir. I also would like to recognize our special guest of honor, Dr. Mrs. Folayan Alakija. You know, somebody sang a song. I'm trying to remember the song now. It was something like, I wanna be a millionaire, sitting next to Oprah and the Queen, something like that. And as I sat next to her, I said, well, I'm that millionaire sitting next to somebody who is even greater than Oprah. So if you're jealous where I sit today, relax, your own time will come in Jesus' name. I cannot but appreciate our honoree for today and his wife, Pascal. Behind every successful man, there's a woman who is fasting and praying. Behind. I repeat, behind. Note what I speak with. So when it is time, we will talk about the beside. But you cannot push when you are beside. You have to be at the back to support. That is what the law of physics says. So the advocates of equality don't recognize the powers that they hold. The man doing the work is the one below that supports. It is not the one standing at your level and dining and eating with you. That's not the supporter, that's a consumer. So Mrs. Pascal, continue to be that rock of support, and God strengthen you to do it, which is man versus machine, how to survive the robotic revolution. So I will try to discuss it. I will try to, within my own limited knowledge, tell you what I know, and I hope when I finish and when I draw the conclusion, you again agree with me the way you just agreed that women should be behind and not beside. Sometimes some of these misconceptions arise because we tend to think that we already know the things that we don't know. And knowledge itself is something that is dynamic. That is what separates us as human beings from animals. So, I'd like to go to the first slide, please, my operator. Next slide. There are 4 concepts of note that I want to draw your attention to this afternoon. when we discuss about man and machines. And the first is the concept of robotics. The second is the concept of the internet. The third is the concept of Internet of Things. And the fourth is the concept of artificial intelligence. When you put all these four things together, they begin to give shape to what we're about to talk about this afternoon. Next slide. The word robots was the brainchild of a very popular Czech playwright some years ago, Karen Capek, who introduced it in one of her writings in 1920. The word robot is drawn from an old church Slavonic word, robota, which means servitude, forced labor, or drudgery. That's what robot means. Next slide. The internet, which is the global system of interconnected computer networks, is only able to function today because it communicates using what is called a protocol or a language that stands for Transmission Control Protocol stroke Internetworking Protocol, TCP/IP. Take note, it's very, very important for us to note that for there to be machine-to-machine communication over the internet today, everything is run by just one language, TCP/IP. And let me run forward to remind you what the Bible records as what men tried to do by building a tower that would go high to meet the Almighty. God did just one thing. He confounded their language, gave them more than one language, and men never had accord thereafter. And so, I want to give you a sneak preview to where I would end. Communication today is governed and enabled by just one language. Do I make sense? I move on. So, the internet is a network consisting of public, private, academia, commercial, industrial, every type of networks, all linked together with a broad array of electronic, wireless, optical, mechanical technologies so that communication can take place. Then I move to Internet of Things. And the term Internet of Things was first used in 1999 by a British technology pioneer, Kevin Ashton, to describe a system in which objects in the physical world could be connected to the internet by sensors. Things that are aware of what is going on, all interconnected together to be able to know things. Ashton coined the term to illustrate the power of interconnecting radio frequency identifier tags, RFIDs. For those who don't know it, RFIDs are very small tags that are sewn into cloths in boutiques. They are sewn into the cloths. It may be in the collar, it may be anywhere. If you steal the clothes, when you are trying to walk out of the shops, a sensor will trigger and blow an alarm, and you get arrested for stealing. But when you go to pay, as the cashier is passing the thing through the tally machine to record the price, there is also an eraser that wipes off the RFID tag to say this has been sold. So when you walk out, it does not trigger the alarm. So it's there. A lot of people don't know, and they wonder. Of course, there are ogologo thieves who also go into the shops with RFID wipers in their pockets. So before they steal the dress, they pass it around the wiper and they can walk out. Again, I would come to that later as I discuss man-machine interaction. So Ashton was able to describe this because the tags are used in managing corporate supply chain systems over the internet so that they can count and track goods without the need for human intervention. And today, the Internet of Things has become a very popular term for describing scenarios in which internet connectivity and computer capability extends to a variety of objects, devices, and everyday items. And then the fourth term, as I said, that has impact on our discussion this afternoon is artificial intelligence. And the beginning of modern artificial intelligence, known for short as AI, can be traced to classical philosophers' attempts to describe human thinking as a symbolic system. But the field of AI wasn't formally founded until 1956 at a conference at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire, where the term artificial intelligence was coined. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the difference there is that in modern warfare, you see a target coming towards you and you attack that target head on. That is called collision. But if man is involved, man will realize that the people in front are the strongest. Perhaps if we go head on, we may not win because they are more in numbers than we are. So you use the principle that was used in the Bible to rout the Amalekites. You go around them. It's called flanking. You go around and the enemy thinks that you are avoiding them in battle and go all the way to the back and attack their flanks from the back. And before they know, you are attacking from the weaker side and not from the stronger side that is facing you. That is the type of thinking that man is capable of, which machine is not capable of. Again, some people will argue that machine is being taught to be able to reason and do things very well. I'll get to that. We're just building on that. So, the term artificial intelligence defines the interaction between man and machine. Next is the evolution of Internet of Things. We're beginning to see 4 different evolutions now. We're beginning to see 4 different evolutions now. The first evolution, which is called IoT 1.0, is what happened in 1956 and the 60s when they were connecting computers to computers. In recent years, I'm sure you felt the euphoria that I felt when I logged off to Facebook and Facebook said, "This is Joko Tade, who you have not seen for 10 years. Do you want to become friends?" And then Sunday and Joko Tade became friends on Facebook. And we celebrated because we were connecting people. Somebody walked up to me this afternoon before I got called up to stage and introduced himself by his Facebook name. And I realized that, oh, we are friends on Facebook and we know each other. And of course, when I met Olawumi this afternoon, I said, "Ekujometa," and I'm sure she was wondering where we met before. Of course, it is Facebook. So we have been able to achieve people-to-people connection, connecting people to other. And so evolution 3.0 is connecting everything else to everything else. And I will come to that in a moment. It's already with us. But there's a fourth level which will happen. And that is the level when we will be able to communicate on the level of matter. When I say matter, I mean you really don't need a direct connection, a direct electrical, wireless, or wired plug to be able to connect. Because science tells us that everything is made up of atoms, isn't it? Elements. You can divide things down to single atoms. But there are, let me say, animals or things that are not more than one atom, what they call planktons in biology. They are able to communicate. They are able to send information. Ladies and gentlemen, it is humans that are not even as developed as they should be. In the great tsunami that hit Asia some years ago, people saw birds flying in from the sea. They saw goats trying to climb the roof of houses, and they were laughing. Isn't that goat stupid? How can you climb to the top of the house? The goat must be stupid. But man realized that that goat struggling to climb to the roof was not stupid. It knew the tsunami was coming. They survived, but man did not survive. And you still think we have intelligence? Think twice. We know nothing. So, I am saying that that time will come when there would be communication at the level of matter. You do not need that plug. It hasn't got to be wireless. It hasn't got to be electronic. It has to be that type of communication that priests, reverends, Bible, and all the clerics have been trying to describe, that says you can communicate with God. You can be in communion, and people are like, what are these religious idiots talking about? I'll come to that later. The confluence of man and machine, because we are not separated. There is a confluence, which is a meeting point. The first is the ubiquitous connectivity, that technical aspect of it. The second is the widespread adoption of IP-based communication. I wrote on Facebook some 4 years ago, I said, BlackBerry will die. And somebody wrote me, he said, Sunday, you are an idiot. You don't know what you are talking about. BlackBerry is the biggest consumer item. With it, you can ping, you can do this. I said again, BlackBerry will die. You can go and check all my Facebook posts. I always do predictions which are not backed by looking in the crystal ball or going on the knees. They're just simple economic things that doesn't need high-tech science to say. And why did I say it will die? Communication must be ubiquitous. It must not be something that you will do in an island. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all been through parenting, some of us. Some people here, by the grace of God, you become parents. But when you enter a phase as a parent that you are too smart and you are not willing to listen and understand the small communication and signals from your family, your children, your wife, you get to a stage that everybody will be talking and you won't understand what they are saying. You are on your own. Even if you are the breadwinner, the money matter, the everything in the house, they will be spending your money and you won't know they are spending your money. Because they have evolved a system of communication. They have built a circle of trust. All of them are in that circle and you are outside. That's what happened to BlackBerry. It did not follow what was ubiquitous, what was easy for people to use, what was easy for people to realize and do. And so that signaled its death. The next is the computing economics. Every time you do something, there is opportunity cost. You see, if your wife and yourself are in good terms, you will not be on bed pinging at 11 o'clock at midnight, isn't it? Hello? You will be on active duty, isn't it? Aha. So when you see somebody who is pinging, where the person should be interacting, there's a level of loneliness associated with it. There's a level of separation. There's a level of distraction. So, computing economics, every time you pick up a computer, it is with the means of achieving a purpose. When that purpose is no longer necessary, you leave the computer aside. I made a post on Facebook about 3 or 4 days ago apologizing to all my fans. I had been away from Facebook for about a month. Why? Because of economics. If there are other things that take your time and energy, of course, as I am talking now, you won't expect me to be updating my Facebook status. That's practically impossible. If that is happening, it must be like Obasanjo's Twitter handle that's being handled by an essay. Because when I read the last tweet about Jonathan, I laughed. I said, that's not Obasanjo. Obasanjo's words must be punctuated with Oloshi. Then comes the next driver of Internet of Things, man and machine, artificial intelligence. That is miniaturization. Those things that used to be very big, technology has been able to reduce them to very small. We all carry very smartphones now, quad core, 4 core. These phones that we put in our pockets, they are the compute size of the computers that filled this type of room in 1985. So what will fill this room in 1985, we have been able to reduce into what goes into our pockets in 2015. And so this level of miniaturization has helped a lot. Also, the other concept is the fact that we have been able to bring communication to close the gap in terms of distance. This morning in my hotel, I was having breakfast with a group of friends, and I was telling the man who were eating, I said, look at the people sitting on the table across. I want to bet that that man is a doctor and the woman is probably is it anesthetist they call it, or they have come to Lagos to conduct an operation, and the patient is a very rich patient who can afford to fly in the doctors. And to prove myself, I went to them and introduced myself to them and asked what they do, and I was confirmed. And it's very easy to know a doctor. The way they order for their breakfast, you know, can I have the breakfast? It's like saying forceps, cutter. Which leads me to my next point, which is the advances in data analytics. Data analytics relies on profiling. And ladies and gentlemen, don't feel bad. The trip I was describing that myself, my wife, and Neka had a lot of fun in Las Vegas. I remembered one Belgian came to ask me, that, are you truly a Nigerian chief? I said yes, because you know we were in Ashoebi, JCI Nigeria delegates, and my wife was on my left, Neka was on my right, and I looked, you know, so I answered the person. I said yes, but on that trip we went to, I think, 6 states when we left Las Vegas, and my wife swore that we would not travel to the US again. Why? Because every time we go to screening at an airport, they will pull us aside. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma. We're sorry. You've randomly been selected to be checked by the computer. And then they would proceed to do full body scan on me and her. And we got to a point, she said, you know what? I won't come back to this place again. Because she felt very, very humiliated and embarrassed. And I said to her, no, it's not a random scan. It's just the fact that there are 30-something-year-old Nigerians, husband and wife, who look too successful to be black. That's just it. That's just it. So every time, 6 different flights were randomly selected to be profiled and searched fully. So, I'm sure you heard the news some 2-3 months ago about some Facebook face recognition algorithm that is supposed to identify people and tag them. And it was always identifying black people like me and you and tagging them as chimpanzees. It was a big scandal some 2-3 months ago that they had to publicly apologize. But it is not because we look like chimpanzees. It's because there are some racists or bigots somewhere who identify and believe that black people can do no good. And ladies and gentlemen, these are the things that stare at us in the face as challenges as we proceed on this journey of man-machine synergy, which continue to pose problems. And the last thing, which is the confluence, is what is called cloud computing. In years past, you need to buy a computer, you need to buy a server, you need to find a very knowledgeable and IT technically savvy person like me. And when I say that, I'm not trying to be proud. I seriously and honestly am not trying to be proud, okay? But when you find somebody like me, you now pay us very good money. And indeed, that was how I made very good money. Today, you don't need to do that. You can buy compute power on the internet. You can buy compute intelligence on the internet. You don't have to fly a doctor from India to Nigeria today. You can turn on your webcam and begin to follow instructions from a doctor who is far away in the Far East. That is how man-machine interaction has been able to get us to. So, tying all these things together, ladies and gentlemen, is what is called big data, data mining. You can keep going through data and through data and through data. And of course, my friends on Facebook will remember when I was doing budget analysis and I started going through some data that people didn't think about. So when the River Basin Development Authority said they wanted to do street lights in Ilorin South, and the street light will cost 900 million naira, I began to ask that with fishes stroll at night that you need street light for River Basin to do street light. But then, with big data, we also know which senator is from Ilorin South, Abi? Or don't we? So you can analyze data without really leaving it to computers. So, where are we today? Robotics, Internet of Things exist in home and consumer electronics, in automotive, healthcare, manufacturing, and very many facets. Let's speak home electronics. The Samsung Family Hub is a revolutionary new refrigerator with a Wi-Fi enabled touch screen. Your groceries, connect with your families, and be entertained like never before. Of course, because the fridge is IP enabled. Operator, next slide. Because the fridge is IP enabled, it is already connected to the internet. Are we together? So let's see what happens. Next slide, next slide. Next one. Yeah. So you visit your doctor, and after you've been to your doctor tests you and says, Reverend Folayan, your BMI is higher than normal. I regret to tell you that you are now overweight, you are obese. So you need to cut down on those midnight snacks. And so the doctor makes an entry into his computer. Folayan came visiting me today. I observed he is too fat. Of course, the computer is wired to the cloud, so the information goes into the cloud. Just the way some people troll you on Facebook. They know what is happening to you by just going to your profile. They won't comment, or they won't like it, or they will just read it. Are you with me? So they already know they are with you. So the doctor's computer makes a post on Twitter or Facebook, and the computer at home and the fridge is following the doctor's computer. I immediately likes it. My guy is fat. I like it. And of course, at night, you tiptoe to the fridge. You pull the handle on the fridge, and the LCD screen begins to flash, and a gentle voice says, "Access denied. Doctor's order. You are too fat." Now your fridge is acting on the instructions of your doctor. Hello, somebody. I am not discussing science fiction. I am talking of the Samsung Family Hub refrigerator. Go and Google it. And don't think I am telling you a story out of the internet. So, your network savvy neighbor is broke and hungry. So he hacks into your doctor's computer and diagnoses you as malnourished, so that your fridge can order more groceries from supermart.ng. So Supermart delivers the grocery to your doorstep, and your neighbor quickly picks it, because when you discover that your fridge ordered food and you could not find it and it has disappeared, you blame your doctor's computer for doing the wrong thing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world that is no longer a dream. Your devices are now connected and ready to teach you a few morals. Next, I move on to a topic that has revolutionized the world of artificial intelligence and has left people confused and perplexed. Driverless cars are being tested today. When a driverless car looks out into the world, it's not able to distinguish the age of pedestrians or the number of occupants in other cars. Indeed, one of the researchers, Lagnemer, said, even if we want to imbue an autonomous vehicle with an ethical engine, we do not have the capability to do so today. What is that ethical engine? A car is going. Suddenly the brake fails. It is driverless. In the car is the world's famous televangelist, priest, reverend, not the one standing before you. The man who can pray and thunder will come down from heaven. Souls will be saved. Lives will be turned around. And there in front is a very elderly woman walking down the road with a small boy who could be greater than a Pascal Obinna in the next 20 years. The brake has failed. Shall the car kill the woman and the child, or shall the car kill the occupant, who is a televangelist? What should be the decision of that driverless car at this point in time? Ladies and gentlemen, researchers have not been able to figure out where the decision should be. A lot of times, doctors have to take that painful decision. When a woman comes in with a pregnancy, that is totally problematic. They have to call the man or the family. Shall we save the child or save the mother? Most often, the emphasis should be to save the mother, isn't it? But we've seen instances where the woman calls the doctor and says, my husband wants a child badly. It's been a very difficult thing for me to give my husband a child. Let this child live. Even if I go, it's my ultimate gift to my husband. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, even the tiniest, cleverest machine lacks one single feature. That's a soul. And I will refer you in ending to the book of Job in the Bible, chapter 32, verse 8, which says, but there's a spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty is what gives man understanding. Pascal asked me a question, and I'd like to answer it. Man-machine war. How are we going to survive it? I'll give you the classic answer, ladies and gentlemen. And you all know that classic answer. Get on your knees and pray. But I'm not just a priest. I am an engineer. I am a scientist. I am a philosopher. I am a public speaker. I am a deep thinker. Ladies and gentlemen, you have three choices. Choice number one, you will be shocked I will say it. Build the machine. Choice number two, you will be shocked I will also offer that choice. You can kill the machine so that it doesn't get built. Choice number three, please don't be shocked that I am saying it. You can be the machine. Work as hard as possible that nobody will need a machine to change you. But there's only one choice you have, which the Almighty told me and you and everybody to always do, so that we will not have to exercise any of these hard choices. Be humane. That's what sets you apart from machines. Thank you very much.
He deserves another round of applause, please. What a way to welcome the man from the pulpit. All right. Some of you might be wondering why he took so much time. You know, we are talking about war between man and machine. You don't want to wake up tomorrow and get to the office and they tell you, sorry, no more job. One software has taken over your job. Go home. So in times of war like this, we need to give time so that we hear on how to win this war. And win, we must. So we're going to take two intelligent questions because he has... yes, I have to emphasize that because this war is not the war with shovel and cutlass. It's a serious war, you know. So please, two questions. I see anyone that is interested to ask, please, two questions. Okay? All right, two. Thank you very much. Please, help me move my mic to... Oh, you have a question. So we have three. Please, you come first, you come behind. We'll take you last, sir, because I understand when a speaker wants to ask another speaker a question, it's very technical. So let's wait, save the best for the last. When we were in school those days, graduate of Yoruba, Greek engineering, anything you read, bank, bank, bank. Everybody was heading to the bank. And we're praying, even as engineers, to work in the bank. But when the ATM came and everything other came, the bank started asking others, I go. The ATM is here doing... So some of you may not know why the banks are not employing as much. Software are doing a lot of things that humans would ordinarily do. So there's a war, it's constantly going on. And please ask your question.
Thank you very much, sir, for very enlightening speech, discussion. No, sorry. I'm just coming from work, so sorry I'm dressed quite like this.
Please go ahead, please.
Yes. My question is actually more very close to your speech. It's more like, is this a war between man and machine, or a war between man and man? Because it's okay, a software takes over a man's job. Is that the software's fault or man's fault? Now the thing is, if we say war between man and machine, then I think we are limiting ourselves. We are not seeing what the war actually is. It's more of a war between man and man capacity to do more. So I just want to know, should we blame the machines or should we blame our own hunger to do more?
All right. First question, he will answer all at once. El Babino, your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. My question is very easy. If I one day have a driverless car that I don't need to drive, and I'm in the car, and the car is moving, do I need a driver's license, or does the car need a driver's license?
Okay. I said intelligent questions, and they are coming. All right, let's save the best for the last.
Thank you for that question. But in the world of consumerism, where those who do not even know that much about science are depending so much on those who are designing these machines, are you sure that man can do without machine?
Thank you very much.
All right. Let me struggle to answer the questions, not in any order. The first question is the easiest to answer. Do you need a driver's license? Legalese comes in because we want to make money. The concept of license is not because it is needed. It is just to test your proficiency. All right? So whether you need license or not, when driverless cars come, will not be based on whether you can drive the driverless car which needs no driver. It will be whether the government wants to tax you for having a driverless car. All right? So I don't know what they will term it. I don't know what they will call it. I don't know how it will play out. But I know right now in Nigeria, you do not need to know how to drive a car to get a driver's license in Nigeria. In other sane climates, maybe yes. All right? But technically, you should best be licensed to sit in a driverless car. All right? Because the conditions for those who can sit in driverless cars is different from those that forgive me, let me go back. When you are in a driverless car, the mental stability and ability required of you is different for different classes of people. And I'm sure a lot of people have wondered, why is it not possible when you are flying in a plane to be able to see the front? I'm sure a lot of you have wondered. It's just in recent times that we are becoming emotionally balanced, that they are allowing people see with the camera where a plane is going. The reason is that initially, hysterical people could just start screaming, yeah, we're going to crash, when nothing is happening. Because at the final approach of a plane to land, it looks sometimes very difficult that it will not make it. So you don't want the passengers to have unnecessary hysteria about what's happening. In the same vein, driverless car, there is something bad going to happen. You can't predict the mental state of that poor occupant who is in the car at that point in time. So when it comes, sir, I don't know how it will play. I frankly don't know how it will play. But I can tell you that it will be much more medical certification that you are fit to sit in that car over and above certification that you can drive the car, because it doesn't need you to drive. The second question from my co-speaker this afternoon. Sorry, I seem to slip the essence of the question.
No, it's consumerism.
Consumerism.
Dependence on lines that happen.
Man has always been very, very dependent on aids. What we are not quick to admit is that we are dependent. As basic as this is a machine. Some people cannot read without their reading glasses. Right? So we have always been dependent. The people in this room today who would go home and swallow acetaminophen before they can relax, and they will swear to you that they are not addicted to drugs. Right? There are some of us who cannot move from place to place without the use of Google Maps. And there are some who will not use Google Maps because they believe, why should they depend on machine? But the truth, ladies and gentlemen, is, as I ended my talk, never forget the bit about being humane. That makes a lot of difference. Your car seats you and you alone with the driver. There are still 3 more seats. If you want to relax, 2 more seats. Why not give somebody a ride going in the same direction as you? That's what it takes to be humane. So I don't have a problem, and I always tell people that technology is not the problem. Neither is it the advent of technology. It is our intention of the use of that technology that differentiates us. You are free to use your Galaxy S9 any point in time. Fantastic tool. God bless you with it. But it becomes a problem when you put it on the table so that everybody can see that that's what you have. And so people live here dreaming and saying that if I don't buy that phone, you know. I attended a meeting some 3 days ago, and somebody said, I will never forgive that man. I said, why? Sir, we were in a meeting some years ago, and he brought out his 090 and said, excuse me, I need to make a call. Yes. And when he finished, he said, you know, these cellular phones, you can't do without them. When you have it, you understand her. And she said, is that not the same man we are now meeting today? Shebi Bubuwati Wani cell phone. Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be careful. The first question has to do with the fact that, are we really fighting against machine? Is it not man against man? Ladies and gentlemen, not today. I said not today, we hunchback the day hunched. If we were very rational people, shouldn't people like Doyin Shola be president of JCI Nigeria today? People like Oladele Ogunlana, people like Kwame, you already left. It's interesting when you see gladiators of yesteryear sit down now, look at each other in the face or on Facebook and say, what were we fighting on then? Hello? What were we fighting on then? I once had the blessed opportunity to mediate between 2 friends, couple, who had a quarrel. And I asked, Kilo Faja, what's the cause of this quarrel? The husband said, am I not the one who is supposed to name the child? Can you imagine? My wife named our child. For that, I will not forgive her. And the wife said, but the name he chose was inspired by his mother, and I don't want his mother to come and control our home, so I chose a name that is neutral of his mother and my mother. And I looked at both of them and asked them, suppose God takes away this child. Think of those who keep praying they want one. You have one and you are fighting over the name, and the fight ended that day. Ladies and gentlemen, now today, of course, the fight is not with machines. The fight is between us humans using the machines as proxies. Thank you.